Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So today's episode comes to you courtesy of my amazing patrons. Once a month, patrons vote on what commander they'd like to see in upcoming deck tech, and the commander that gets the most votes wins. And the commander that got the most votes this month is none other than Avacyn, Angel of Hope. My goodness, a heavy hitter for a lot of reasons. First up, 8/8 flying vigilance indestructible angel that costs 5 white, so 8 mana in total. And most importantly, other permanents you control have indestructible. That means everything we have is indestructible. Good luck dealing with it, opponents. So of course, we can take really great advantage of that by our opponents not being able to destroy our things, but also maybe destroy things. So we ourselves can say, you know what? Our things are just immune from many wrath effects, and therefore, well, if we wrath, it is a one-sided wrath that turns every single one of our board wipes into one-sided board wipes, ensuring that the path is clear for our army and for our giant angel that can, of course, 3-shot KO any opponent with commander damage. So yeah, a fantastic commander. Now, I will mention that I did hold back a little bit on the wrath effects because some playgroups out there, mine included, don't necessarily like when you have 15 plus wraths in your deck and all you're doing is wiping the board again and again and again. I do have a decent amount in the deck, but yeah, if you want to adjust your personal preferences for your playgroup, make sure you do that. Regardless, there's going to be a deck list if you are interested in this commander, of course, in the description below. This is, I will say, a very budget-friendly deck list, considering that the commander itself is $52. Yeah, Avacyn is very expensive. So yeah, the commander itself, not budget friendly. The rest of the deck, the other cards in the 99 are about $20 in total. The estimated cost on Moxfield is $72.69. So yeah, basically most of the 75% or 60 whatever it is percent, a lot of percentage of the cost is just with the commander. If you already have Avacyn, great. Or if you want to proxy it, great. Regardless, the rest of the deck, the 99, very budget friendly. I will note that that does include the cost of basics, but you might already have those, or maybe you can borrow some from friends or your LGS or whatnot, or just buy them in bulk. And also, this does not include the cost of shipping, which might vary depending upon where you live. Regardless, if you are interested in this commander, again, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. Now, with all that said, let's jump into the tactics. Let's start things off with our first tactic. And of course, first up, there's Wayfarer's Bauble. Pay 2 tap, sacrifice. Go get a basic land in a play tap. Fantastic ramp for any color combination, including mono white. Moving up, Arcane Signet. Yeah, just a very standard, very good 2-mana mana rock that taps for a white mana. And when it comes to 2-mana mana rocks, we've got a ton of them, so here we go. Really quickly, Ebony Fly enters the battlefield, taps for a white, and we can also turn to a fly. Cool. Also, then we've got Fellwar Stone, can tap for our color most of the time. Fractured Power Stone can tap for a color most of the time. Deals with the planar die too. We don't really care about that. Regardless, a very efficient, very effective mana rock. Next up, Guardian Elf. This one does enter the battlefield tap, but we can turn it into a 2/2. And yeah, all of this damage kind of adds up, and yeah, we can easily get something like this through again and again and again when we keep clearing the board. Then there's Knight of the White Orchid, another creature that can really help us out as well. And keep in mind, with creatures, with those indestructible creatures, because everything's going to be indestructible right when our commander gets into play, they are fantastic blockers for us as well. Knight of the White Orchid, 2/2 first strike for 2. ETBs, if opponent controls more lands than us, we can go get a plains, put on the battlefield, then shuffle. Yeah, we're in mono white. Chances are very likely that our opponents have more lands than us. Next up, Liquid Metal Torque. This one taps for colors as well, or we can tap, make something into an artifact, which can, be a nice way to deal with certain things if we've got certain removal spells. Then we've got Loyal Warhound, a 3/1 Vigilant Dog. Enters the battlefield, opponent controls more lands than us. We get a basic plains into play tapped as well. Then we've got Marble Diamond, enters the battlefield tapped, taps for a single white mana. Mind Stone taps for a colorless, or we can pay 1 tap and sacrifice it. And then Prismatic Lens, finally, this one can filter our mana if need be. But of course, we're not done with ramping just yet, so let's move on to tactic number 2. 2 for the show. Well, I should say 2 or more. Everflowing Chalice, a fantastically flexible mana rock. You pay 2 into it, taps for 1, pay 4, taps for 2, etc, 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 essentially. Gives you half the amount of mana back that you put into it. Then we've got Coalition Relic. This one costs 3, taps for 1, or we can put a charge counter on it by tapping it and saving up that charge counter. Next turn, we can essentially use it for 2 mana. Then there's Skyclave Relic. Again, 3 mana, taps for 1, indestructible. Or if we kick it, we get 3 of them essentially, and yeah, get half the amount of mana back that we put into it. Then there's Worn Power Stone. Cost 3, enters the battlefield tap, but it does tap for 2 right away for us, which is fantastic. And Power Auto Generator, this one does take time to build, but when you do so, you tap, you get a charge counter on it, and you also get to add that much mana essentially. So yeah, throughout the game, this can make a ton of mana. And again, our commander costs a ton of mana, so the more mana rocks we have in this deck, the better. Next up, Firemind Vessel, enters the battlefield, taps for 2. Then we've got Hedron Archive, taps for 2, and we can also pay 2 taps, sacrifice, draw 2 cards, dig down in your deck. Ichor Elixir again, deals with the planar die. We don't really care about that. What we do care about, hey, it taps for 2, just like Sisei's Ring, which does the exact same thing as Golem's Eye. Each of them just cost 4, tap for 2. Incredibly effective, incredibly efficient. Efficiency is the name of the game with this commander when it comes to getting it out quickly and effectively. So we also have Stone Speaker Crystal. Taps for 2, also pay 2, tap, sacrifice, exile any of our target player's graveyards, draw a card. So this can be good graveyard hate against certain decks like, Self-Mill, Reanimation, etc, etc, etc. And then finally, Dreamstone Hedron. Cost 6, taps for 3, pay 3, tap, sacrifice, draw 3 cards. So again, massive ramp for us. We've got so much ramp in this deck. We'll get our commander out. We'll do some very spicy things. And speaking of spice, well, we're going to simmer things down for our opponents just a little bit because, well, our creatures, again, are going to stay in play quite a while because, again, our commander says, hey, you're indestructible. You're really hard to deal with. And Hushbringer says, you know what? Let's make things even tougher on opponents. 1/2, Flying Lifeline. Creatures on the battlefield don't cause her dying, don't cause abilities to trigger. So we can shut down a lot of things our opponents might want to do. Next up, Even Mind Sensor, another great hate bear for us. 2/1, Flash Flying. If an opponent searches their library, they search the top 4 cards of that library instead. This can be absolutely obnoxious for our opponents to have to do because they probably won't tutor for the things they actually want. And that includes, even Evolving Wilds being cracked. They're not probably going to get the land that they want. Then there's Loxodon Gatekeeper. 2/3 Elven Soldier. Artifacts, creatures, lands your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. That is huge. This slows them down a massive amount. Windborn Muse, a great one as well. 2/3 Flyer. Creatures can't attack you unless their controller pays 2 for each creature that controls attacking you. Yeah, good luck doing that, especially when, well, we're going to keep wiping out your armies. We're going to make it so that, well, it's going to be really hard for you to attack. Our creature's going to be indestructible. Even if you are going to try to pay that, maybe we blew up your mana rocks as well. You might not have a lot of mana to spare, so good luck. And then finally comes the not sparing mana. Yeah, God Pharaoh's statue is so brutal, so deadly. Spells Pro's cast costs 2 more to cast. This can slow them down to a crawl again. Hey, if we keep wrathing things and keep destroying, maybe, say, their mana rocks, again, not a lot of mana to spare, and all your spells now are very costly. On top of that, beginning of each end step, beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 1 life. So, yeah, drain your opponents throughout the game with this as well. Absolutely brutal. But now let's move on to tactic number 4, tough stuff, and some ways to really take advantage of that indestructibility thanks to our commander. First up, Wall of Glare, a 0/5 wall with defender, so it can't attack, but still, hey, it may block any number of creatures each combat. That is huge because, again, if this is indestructible, this is basically like, yeah, why attack me? Unless you've got something that can fly over this, why attack me? Because I'm just going to block everything with this. This is going to survive. And you know what? This is just basically a permanent fog on the board in combination with our commander, which is fantastic. Next up, Palace Guard. Basically exact same thing. Can block any number of creatures, although it isn't a wall. So it's a 1/4. Sure, we can attack with it as well if we really want to. Next up, Guardian of the Gateless. This one is huge. A 3/3 Flying Angel for 5 mana. Can block any number of creatures. So again, even if your opponents have flyers, too bad. We're going to block them as well. On top of that, when it blocks, it gets +1/+1 until on turn for each creature it's blocking, so we can actually take out creatures as well that are coming through too with this. Then we've got Kjeldorn Royal Guard. Tap, redirect from you to Kjeldorn. All combat damage dealt by unblocked creatures this turn. This is really tricky because, hey, we don't even need to block. We say, all right, you came through with all your creatures. Great, cool. Yeah, it's gonna hit us, so we're gonna just say, no, all that damage actually goes to this instead, which is indestructible, so it's going to survive. So in a similar way, we've got Palisade Giant, 2/7, all damage will be dealt to you. Another permanent you control is dealt to Palisade Giant instead, so all that damage is getting soaked up by this, which again, thanks to our commander, is indestructible. It can survive it. A lot of great, cool ways that we can utilize, some cards that don't see a lot of play that are great with this commander, because it's like, you know what? Yeah, just protect it in combat permanently, essentially. And then Weather Bodyguards, we can morph it, so that's nice, surprising. As long as it's untapped, all combinations will be dealt to you by unblocked creatures is dealt to this instead. So again, yet another way to just survive combat by just saying, hey, indestructible creature, take all this damage for us. Now, as good as all these cards are, there's one card, in my opinion, that stands above the rest, and that is the Golden Pig of this stack, which is Worship. A really, really cool card, one that works great with this commander. It's an enchantment for 3 and a white. If you control a creature, damage that will reduce your life to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. This can just be a great stopgap to say, yeah, unless you got some draining effects or you got some commander damage to take me out, which is going to be difficult again because I've got this, army that is indestructible. Hey, you need to deal with this, which again is going to be indestructible, or all of my creatures, which are also indestructible, or you just simply cannot take me out no matter what you do. Keep in mind, again, that this does specify damage, so again, life drain effects would take you out as well, but still, hey, you know what? Most times, you're just going to be safe just by sitting back, having this apply with your commander. Good luck to your opponents. They need a way to either bounce this or exile it, or they are going to be in big trouble. Yeah, Worship is a fantastic card in this deck, and in my opinion, definitely worthy of the title of Golden Pig. But now let's really heat things up in tactic number 6 with Here Comes the Boom, because, well, we've got Boom Pile, a great card. Tap, flip a coin. If you win the flip, destroy all non-land permanents. Cards that are worded like this work incredible with Avacyn, because it's not like, tap, sacrifice this. No. Normally this would get taken out by itself, but because of Avacyn, it doesn't. So sure, it is a coin flip. We'll see if it lands which way, and if it lands the way to destroy all things, great. It destroys all non-land permanents, but again, here's the thing. All of our permanents are indestructible, so they stay on the board. Our opponents do not. This stays on the board, and we can repeatedly do this throughout the game, so good luck to your opponents trying to play anything when you've got this potential board wipe again and again and again. Speaking of which, Magus of the Disc. Oh my goodness. 2/4 Human Wizard, enters the battlefield tapped, pay 1 tap to destroy artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. Again, normally this would take itself out, but thanks to this commander, it does not. This says, you know what? I'm a repeatable way to destroy the board for 1 mana. Would you like to? Great. I mean, sure, this doesn't take out, battles, I guess, or planeswalkers, but still, I mean, you can easily swing through on their planeswalkers and their battles as well, I guess, if you really want to. But there you go. This takes out basically everything you need to take out. So, of course, in a similar way, Neverall's Disc, basically exact same thing, but on an artifact that does into battlefield tapped as well. Then, of course, we've got other more standard board wipes. Cleansing Nova. Choose one to destroy creatures, destroy artifacts, and enchantments. Depending on the situation that you're in, use the mode that you need to. Fumigate. You need to gain some life as well to destroy all creatures. You're going to gain 1 life for every single creature destroyed this way. Chroma's Vengeance. This can help you out as well a lot. Destroy a lot of things, artifacts, creatures, and enchantments, all for 6 mana. Or, if you need to, cycle away to draw a card. Austere Command, incredibly flexible. Choose to destroy artifacts, enchantments, big creatures, small creatures, whatever you need. In the situation that you're in, just do that. And then we've got Devastating Mastery. If you want to pay the 6 mana, sure, do that. It does have all those pips in it, but you're in mono white, of course you can afford that. Or you're going to pay 4. If you do, an opponent's going to bounce 2 non-land permanents they control back to their hand. Regardless, it might be worth the 6 mana, destroy all non-land permanents. Goodbye to everything except, again, your things. And then finally, Hour of Revelation. Speaking of which, destroy all non-land permanents again. Everything goes bye-bye. Again, either 6 mana or, hey, if there are 10 or more non-land permanents on the battlefield, you're in a game of Commander. There's going to be 10 or more non-land permanents. This just costs 3 mana. So say 3 mana, one-sided. Get rid of basically everything you don't have board wiped. Absolutely incredible. But now let's move on to tactic number 7, Good Riddance. And yeah, we've got some smaller ways to get rid of some more pinpoint stuff as well. Cathar Commando, a 3/1 with flash, pay 1, sacrifice, destroy target artifact or enchantment, so if you need to do that, great. If not, hey, you got an indestructible 3/1 in play, what's not to love about that? Then we've got Oblation. This one can be very flexible depending on what you need. instant. The owner of target non-land permanent shuffles it in their library, then draws 2 cards. So get rid of something pretty much permanently of an opponent's, or get rid of your own thing and, hey, draw some cards. If you don't need something, draw some cards. Then we've got Crush Contraband. Basically, you're going to exile an artifact and an enchantment and return to dust. Essentially the exact same thing as long as you cast it during your main phase. But now let's move on to tactic number 8, stick around, because we've got some ways to make things even tougher to deal with. Blacksmith skill is incredible. Target permanent gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Sure, we can also pump out its artifact creature, doesn't really matter all that much. What does matter again is a 1-mana way to say, let's just save this. Especially our commander, again, that hexproof can come in huge. Speaking of which, Lauren's Escape. Target artifact or creature gains hexproof and indestructible on turn, scry 1. So again, some nice card selection there on top of protecting many of our things with this fantastic spell. And of course, Swiftfoot Boots is an incredible card for this commander. Equip creature has hexproof and haste. Also, this is just going to be indestructible as well. Giving our commander hexproof again makes it incredibly hard to deal with. Essentially, our opponents need a board wipe that can get around exile, a way that either puts the creature on the bottom of the library, exiles, etc., bounces. Yeah, if they don't have that, it's going to be really hard for them to deal with any of our things. But let's move on to tactic number 9, dig down, to talk about some ways to dig down into our deck to get to all these amazing cards. First up, Endless Atlas, a fantastic card in a monocolor deck. Pay 2, tap, draw a card. Only if you've got 3 lands with the same name. Here's the thing, we've got a lot of planes, so yeah, we're going to meet that requirement basically every single time. Next up, Spirited Companion, a simple 1/1 enchantment creature, lovely dog, ETBs, draw a card. That is fantastic because, well, hey, let's replace this card on top of that again. Just a simple 1/1 can be so annoying for our opponents because it's going to be indestructible. It's going to be fine. Opponents try to swing through, we're going to block with it. Speaking of which, Wall of Omens, a 0/4 defender, ETBs, draw a card as well. Then we've got Cut a Deal. We can make some friends, right? Maybe, probably not. Anyways, each opponent draws a card, then you draw a card for each opponent, drew a card this way. Basically, draw 3 for 3. Lovely. Then we've got File of Galadriel. If you would draw a card where you have no cards, in hand draw 2 cards instead. So for ever in a dire situation where you have no cards, now we're going to have 2. Great, we can just keep kind of refueling this, using those cards. Drawing 2 cards each turn can be fantastic. On top of that, if you gain life while you have 5 or less life, instead you gain twice that much life, nice. On top of that, tap, add 1 of any color. So it's a very fantastic mana rock that can help us out in a lot of ways again. And more mana rocks is never a bad thing for this deck, again, with a commander that costs 8 mana. Next up, Secret Rendezvous. See, we can make a commander. We draw 3 cards, an opponent draws 3 cards. You're our best buddy now, right? We're fine, we're friends. Speaking of friends, throw Investigation. We might attack some friends at some point, because whenever you attack, you investigate, which can be huge, making a ton of clues, utilizing our mana to draw cards with that. On top of that, whenever you sacrifice a clue, venture in the dungeon. Plenty of great value from that as well. Your temple's under attack. This is going to protect our team if our commander isn't there. Give our creatures indestructible for 3 mana. Or, hey, me and an opponent will draw 2 cards again. Make a friend. We're best buddies. Those other 2 players, they're the problem, right? Then we've got Search the Premises. Whenever a creature attacks you, or Planeswalker you control, investigate. Again, more ways to make more clues, potentially an attack deterrent as well. Our opponent might not want to swing through for making a lot of clues. Then finally, hey, if that player over there has a ton of cards in hand, let's even it, all right, at least for ourselves. Sandstone Oracle says, when it enters the battlefield, choose an opponent. If that player has more cards in hand, you draw cards equal to difference. So yeah, if we're at 0, maybe go back up to 7 if we've got that Simic player over there that's drawing a ton of cards. Maybe even more if they've got, you know, like Thought Vessel or something like that in play to have no maximum hand size. But now that we've talked about every single non-land card in this deck, let's talk about a great land in this deck, which is Undo Inversion. Yeah, even one of our lands can cause problems for our opponents. It's an 8-mana sorcery, blow up everything, destroy all non-land permanents, get rid of all the pesky things. Yeah, your opponents will not see this coming. And hey, early on in the game, if you don't need this, just make it, you know, as a land. It's an MDFC. The backside is a land that comes in play, taps for a white. Overall, though, yeah, a very potent commander, one that can be built even more brutally than this. Again, I did just like kind of tamper down the design a little bit and just ensure that there wasn't an absurd amount of wraths. There's still a decent amount of wraths in this deck. You want to adjust it for your own playgroup. You can tone it down, you can tone it up. You might want to check with your playgroup first before you actually tone it up, because again, yeah, I've learned my lesson from years and years and years ago with like my Selenia deck where I had like 15 plus wraths, and players might not like that as much. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting things that you can do with this commander, though. Make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. Comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.